Hey guys, so I had the other interview with Johan Erasmus on Tuesday, but again I had major audio problems with OBS and NDI with Skype. I think I have figured them out, but I can't put the video up like that. So what I've done is I have taken it apart. And I'm just going to speak and let you guys know the questions that I was asking him because his audio is okay until you get to the end. Just bear with me, okay? I'm not a professional and I will work it out. Also, I want to say before we start that, all of his opinions may not necessarily be my opinions. So just listen to the story and understand the bigger implications of how huge it is for this to get out. It exposes everything, and there's so much that will never be said, on here that you can't imagine. This could very well be the key to blowing the lid off of everything they're doing to everyone in South Africa. So just listen with an open mind and, don't take your frustration out on me. With that being said, so this was part 2 of the Johan Erasmus videos. And it's about the interdict against the military. And we were going to speak about the treason charges, but we didn't have time to get to that. So the first thing I asked Johan was about the people close to him that have been murdered. There are 4 people that were very close to him that have all been murdered execution style or under very suspicious circumstances. One of these people in particular is Masilela. He was the Minister of Defense, and he died in a horrible way. I will actually post the links to the stories of their deaths in the description of the video. But it was very suspicious because a lot of people had reasons to want him dead. He was investigating corruption, and he was trying to help Johan and Ivan. Ivan was Johan's friend and business partner. He was also murdered execution style in broad daylight by men in police uniforms with witnesses watching, yet no one was ever charged. He will speak about that. But I realized that all of these things kind of tie together because I've been speaking out against David Mabuza. I read the sworn statement from the hitman of David Mabuza and Steve Mabona, the Minister of Police at the time. And I realized that I'm missing a few pages to it because in researching Masilela's death, I found where the same hitman, had admitted to killing Masilela, that he was ordered to make it look like an accident. So that really blew me away because that tied things together for me. But I don't have proof of it 100%. I just know what was reported and what that man said. So the first thing I asked Johan to do was to tell us a little more about his friend Ivan and his death, and then talk to us a little bit about January Masilela and how he fit into the whole picture. So I'm going to play his response for you, and then I will come back.
Masilela, January Masilela, was the Chief of Staff in the office of the Premier of Mpumalanga, at that time, Matthew Sponza. From there, he went on to become the Secretary of Defense, which in effect means it's a superior Director General of the Department of Defense. As Secretary of Defense, is holding the shares from the Department of Defense in places like Arms Corps and the NGAM. I knew Shea Masilela. Ivan and I went to see him along with some other people about the situation that redundant ammunition was stolen from South Africa by Arms Corps. And the agreement was that we would instigate an inquiry. That inquiry included the investigation of the export of the 320 rifles to the King of Jordan, to the King Abdullah Design Bureau 2, where Tabourbeki's brother Masilela was the chairperson. Now, according to our calculation, $300 million at the time was part of it, to the benefit of Paramount Logistics and all their friends, because Ivan Shikovic from Paramount was involved in the Berlin Initiative along with Mechanology with Craig Savides. Savides' father was involved in the Eli Bazan affair, which led to the creation ultimately of the NCACC. You have to understand the history in this regard. Now, I was called the whip of Masilela in the effect that I was seen as the guy pushing on the thing. Masilela and I met shortly before his death, and we had an agreement to meet the week after in which he had died. Now, what is most interesting, there's various issues around as to his assassination, but the most credible one that stands out is that it was the French who was behind it. Because Masilela and Thabo Mbeki was given by Bosisi in the Central African Republic a concession on uranium, which they then sold to the French for R1 billion. Now, Bosisi did not want to give this to the French. So we took back the concession, and the French was out of pocket to the tune of R1 billion, and they wanted it back. And to teach Mbeki a lesson, it was said that they were behind the killing of Masilela. Now, when you look at the Greenpeace situation in New Zealand, the situation of the sinking of the ship by French intelligence, we again see the French hand in play here. So anybody claiming that they had to make it look like an accident, they were involved, is way off course. Because yes, when Masilela's car hit the culvert and went flying over a little stream and landed on the other side and started burning, he crawled out, he was still alive. And then here comes a very interesting twist. There was somebody on the scene who claimed that he smothered Masilela to ensure that he died. Now, this is very interesting because I have met this guy, and he cannot tell me who gave him the instruction. But the fact of the matter is, people wanted to take out Johan and Masilela, who was then succeeded by Tuli Mutumi, or something like that. And the whole Secretariat of Defense became a farce, and even today, more than anything else, since Jeff Pradebe as the minister is not involved in the NCACC, which is the National Conventional Arms Control Committee, a cabinet committee, the DCAC, which falls under the Secretary of Defense, Director of Conventional Arms Control, falls under the Department of Defense. So the NCACC is dysfunctional. The DCAC, which is going to look to the NCACC, doesn't know what to do, and we are picking up more and more rumors of illegal arms movements inside, outside of the country. South Africa is really becoming a war zone in the sense of there is no control. The military plays a big role in this, but the whole killing of Che Masilela is one of about 4 people that since the 2000s happened around or very close to me. So Masilela, I mean, it was very funny that he was killed on that day, especially in view of the fact that I was waiting for him to return from Mpumalanga so that I could meet with him. And also the most interesting thing is his driver was sent back the previous day from Nelspruit to Pretoria. So he was driving back himself.
Hi, so next I asked Johan to tell us about his friend Ivan and his murder. Just, I don't know, it just blows my mind how this can take place in broad daylight in front of witnesses, yet there's no one ever caught, you know? Anyway, this is what he had to say about Ivan.
He was killed. Okay, and also what has been happening is we have found that the NCACC, DCAC have been pawns in the game to destroy our business. Now, when you look at the Act 41 of 2002 for the NCACC, it is basically a piece of legislation written to enable only certain people to do deals in the arms trade. Prior to the establishment of the NCACC, Arms Corp was handling all the import-export permits. I mean, they were judge and jury. Now they had to work through the NCACC where they put their people, whom they could manipulate. And everything points to the fact that Masilela was not playing ball, so therefore he had to be taken out. Now, there's been various assassinations and murders going on in that environment. But I say Masilela is the first one that was close to me, because the next one was my friend and my partner, Ivan Monsieur. Ivan is a brilliant man, could speed read. He spoke many languages. He was also a police reservist. And the finger points towards Jackie Salebe at the time, the dysfunctional, dishonest, corrupt crook of a police commissioner. Excuse me. Eventually, he and Glenn Aglioti became the biggest drug lords in the country at the time of his death. The big thing is with Ivan. Ivan was a very good shot. He built up the business, NGA, New Generation Ammunition. He was known all over the world. He had access to many intelligence services. He was the first to identify Glenn Aglioti some 2 years prior to the press publishing it, that Aglioti was the big man in drugs and running with Jackie Salebe. Now, Ivan's situation was he could never think strategically or tactically. Ivan was a torpedo. When launched, he would go in the direction. And the morning of his death, people were standing 100 meters away in the cabbage patch watching what was happening. Ivan emptied his pistol. When these guys pulled him off the road, now remember, Ivan was a police reservist with many years of service. The police is trained, when you pull a car off the road, the police car must be at the back. These guys were out in front.
Uniform.
They were in Metro Police uniforms, correct. So, in broad daylight, just after 8 o'clock in the morning, in Midrand. So, when it's on a piece of road that leads from Midrand to Olifantsfontein on the airport side. It's a connection road. It goes past Mbisa. So Ivan, the altercation took place just before Tembisa. Ivan pulled his pistol so fast because he was left-handed. He pulled off a shot against his leg, which burned his leg to the ground. and he started firing. The guy on the left-hand side, he hit. The guy went down. But when he went down, he was on his side and he was still firing towards Ivan. Ivan was behind his bucky. So the shots fired at him went into the firewall and into the radiator. But Ivan emptied his pistol. The driver was behind the door of the Toyota. When Ivan's pistol ran dry, this is why I say Ivan was negligent in this regard. He did not carry a magazine on him. He had to turn back to the bucket to go to the door on the side where he held his spare magazines. And when he bent down to get out the magazine, the driver came running up to him and shot him 2 shots in the back of the head. Now, most interesting enough, this type of assassination was exactly the same that took place with George Simonovic on 6 May 2018 in Belgrade, 2 shots in the back of the head. Now, Ivan's assassination was on the 2nd of June 2009.
So one thing I had to remind Johan to let people know is that Ivan was killed in broad daylight by 2 men in police uniforms. He was flagged down on the road. He was murdered in broad daylight. There were witnesses, and he wounded one of the men. He emptied his clip of 12 rounds, and he shot him through the liver. And the police found this man in the hospital, yet they never questioned him. To this day, Ivan's killers have not been found. And they were driving a Toyota. It had police lights and sirens on it. They were wearing police uniforms. So what does that point to? And as I said, I'll put the story in the description.
That is correct. That is the guy on the left-hand side. He shot him under the body armor because they were wearing body armor. Because it all goes back to Jackie Selebe giving the instructions. Because at that, yeah, but for another reason, ended up in the prison hospital. The big thing is that Ivan took Jackie Selebe as police commissioner to court, to labor court, because he was not promoted as a reservist to captain. And he embarrassed Jackie Selebe, and he got a court order against Selebe for not complying with the rules of court and the judgment. And look, the big thing is a lot of these people, prisoners and else, think they can act above the law, and they do, because with utter impunity they get away with it. Today more than ever. In order to make the problem go away, they just decided on rubbing Ivan out, like a pencil writing that you just rub out. That is what happened. But the problem then became that NGA was taken over by the executor in the state, and he appointed his friend Richard Potgieter, who ran the business into the ground. Took himself 140,000 rand in salaries a month, and it doesn't matter what you would say to the widow, Stenchi, or his previous wife, they were all smitten with this guy, and he destroyed the business. The children who were supposed to inherit the business and the value thereof inherited zilch until today. So business is gone. But the big thing is, you see, Ivan started out in business with a lot of Afrikaners, and they built the business up. Armscore provided them, for instance, with 2 containers of empty shells out of Israel on a 2-year credit line. But then, you know, the problem with Afrikaner guys, the expectations are way too high, and a lot of towing and throwing, a lot of allegations. Ivan got rid of them, and when Ivan got rid of them, all hell broke loose from the Armscore side. And Ivan and I met each other at the end of the 90s, when Ivan already had a problem when his premises were raided by the police and Armscore. Again, arms corps plays a very big role in everything. It also comes back to our arms and weapons. Because arms corps is nothing else but a criminal organization shrouded in the law. And it is run by Afrikaners. And people are talking about the blacks, but the blacks are manipulated by these guys. And the nonsense they've been talking about Ivan, the nonsense they've been talking about me, for instance. Sipon Kanazi was the acting CEO for a very long time. He would in public say, NGAM got an order and they only stole the money. But we delivered. People would say to him, but you don't know what you're talking about. But they had him in a bind and it was clearly said between Dawie Griesel and Gerard Grobler, the CFO. Dawie Griesel was a senior procurement guy. They played good cop, bad cop. Dawie Griesel has today left Arms Corps. Gerard Grobler is still there. But the big thing is that there's been too much political influence and too much brown-nosing in order to get things done. Because the most interesting thing I've noticed in all of these things, they're all looking just for a bloody pension.
Hi, so the next thing I ask about is the interdict that Johan got against the military. And I actually was going to post some of these documents with the video, but I've had so much go wrong that I will do it at another time, just explaining the documents. But so here's the interdict that was originally given by the judge. And what this said, this is what he's going to explain next, is this judge, which would be Judge Southwood of Pretoria. It basically says he ordered the respondents, all listed, which are the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans, Colonel N.L. Mudau, Brig General R. Mapwanya, the Minister of Police, the National Commissioner of South African Police, and the Commanding Officer of Hawks. He ordered them that the respondents or any person acting under their instruction be interdicted and restrained from destroying, removing, attaching, or any other way dealing with the arms and ammunition as set out in Annex X hereto, pending finalization of the application. He said, if the arms and ammunition referred to have already been removed, return it immediately to the safekeeping facilities, military base, pending the finalization. The respondents are ordered to pay the cost of this application jointly and severally. It says that it has a list, an inventory list, but it says that this is to be done immediately, that it goes into effect immediately. So he's going to explain. I asked him to explain this.
Okay. On the 14th of March 2012, I heard the morning that the police was raiding Special Forces supply chain unit at Walmanstal, and they were touching our goods. Now, nothing was served on us. Files, eventually 6 weeks later when I got the documents and got to see the documents, it was all fabrications, false lies, everything. But the police went in, they raided. I got 2 o'clock that afternoon in front of Judge Southwood a court order, as you explained, an interdict. They must return it. Of course, what they did was to wipe their asses. That's what they did on it. They wiped their asses because they just carted everything away. Now, the next morning, this was in the newspapers, in the Bill, that's like the Pretoria News in Pretoria, and the guy in charge at the explosives unit in Brits, because that is where some of the stuff we kept, told me that the police came charging on, remember, 14th, this is now the 15th, came charging up to his officers, bringing all the RPGs in. And at that stage, when I saw the RPGs had been dismantled. The tool marks were clearly on the heads of the polished aluminium. Now, normally what would happen is special forces would take RPG-7s apart when they took them out of arms caches of the ANC, put the explosives in the nose, and put it back together again. The effect thereof is that once an RPG is fired, it explodes on your shoulder and bye-bye world. Because in 2013, there was going to be a demonstration to the SA Infantry at Parafontein, just north of Pretoria. And the military said only I should fire the RPG. They gave me a shooting point 500 meters from the viewpoint. And when I saw the RPGs again, I said to them, up yours, because somebody wants to kill me and make it look like an accident. I was also in court that day, and interesting enough, the judge refused to give me access to the weapons. This was after Graham Bester, an advocate, who was a previous prosecutor who had played throughout a major role in sabotaging us. Because he would say in the tea room to the other advocates, what a fucker this Erasmus is. Because the military didn't know how to handle him and he had to advise them. How did he advise them? How to be criminals? That's what he did. And this starts with things like, as I've described. So I got it, and also here I must blame my advocate at the time, because while being a very good advocate in financial aspects, it was very clear he was sucking up to senior counsels, he was sucking up to the judge. I've seen this so many times in courts, and it's simple because they swim in the same shark pool. I've had it that they will strike a deal behind the client's back and then come back with a paltry agreement in order to satisfy their brothers. So if there's ever a profession that needs to be destroyed nearly in total, I'm not saying in total, I'm saying nearly in total, then it's the advocate's profession. And believe me, not only advocates, a lot of judges are involved and a lot of attorneys. They should be hunted down and taken out like rabid dogs. It's not only my opinion, but the people when you do what you do to me for 8 years, just because I delivered for the country, and even despite all the actions in the court, everything was for naught. This is what we call a Pyrrhic victory. It means fuck all.
I would like to add in here that the Gatling minigun, the Dillon Gatling minigun, this gun had been on the South African Defense Force's wish list for 20 years. They didn't have the money in the budget to buy it, first of all. But second of all, they could not buy it. Dillon would not sell directly to them. It had to be bought by a third party. And this is where Johan came in. He purchased this gun with the intent of them purchasing it from him. They had talked about it. They were excited that it was coming. Yet when all of this came down, they never wanted the gun, and they never promised to buy the gun, which I have paperwork that says otherwise, that they did know about it. So, like I said, this gun was brought over for this purpose, yet once all of this happened, they knew nothing about it. And they couldn't have bought it on their own, don't forget.
That is correct. They were going to have to place orders because they were new. Just on the RPGs, this was new generation RPGs. An RPG prior to that had a distance of 908 meters. These now had a distance of 2,000 meters. It's not a missile that you upgrade missile which you can fire and forget. You have to know what you're doing with these missiles, with these rockets. But you could create heavy havoc. I mean, the Thermoberg was the first time awarded into this country, which is a devastating weapon. I mean, the havoc you can create with that weapon. What happened in Beirut with the American Marines was a Thermoberg explosion. When the truck with explosives hit the barracks, it had gas canisters on board with cement slabs on top. It lifted the barracks 15 feet into the air. But when the barracks fell down on itself, that's where you had got nearly 300 people killed from the American Marines. This is a Thermoberg explosion. It's a hell of a big overshock. Liquid air explosion, and what it does, it's an overshock. You don't have to hit the target. You just have to be very near. Yeah, and then of course the case of the minigun. Until today, no miniguns have been ordered into South Africa. Doesn't matter what or why. Why did somebody not want these weapons to come into South Africa? Because I mean, my gun, I bought in for the military, because remember, and this is where Vanessa de Tooy from the NCACC comes with a disjointed argument saying, it's not my gun, I paid for it. Under the rules and regulations, I could not keep it with me because it's a controlled item. I had to leave it with the military. And earlier this year in March, we got a court order in the matter of NGAM, I had to liquidate by 2016, to inspect the weapons as per this initial court order of 2012. The thing is, the state's legal team made the issue of me being Boeramag. Everything to try and to discredit me. Boeramag is a bogeyman for the state, but the Boeramag, like the Suidlanders, is an operation run by Defense Intelligence. Every money they're getting out of America is for Defense Intelligence. What are they doing with that money? Are they involved in the farm murders? There's people that says it is. They sit behind it. But it's a Defense Intelligence. You've got so many jokers running out and telling people like Craig Montgomery, so-called special forces. He's never been special forces. He's been an apprentice electrician. But they go around, they collect money, and they all link up with South Africa Defense Intelligence and a special operations unit of the SSA. And intelligence in South Africa has become a big criminal organization. Believe me, prior to 94, they were already. Because the drug routes in Mozambique was established by South Africa Defense Intelligence. The drug routes that is today run, according to press reports by Suleiman, the drug routes where 4,000 tons of drugs are coming in a month into the northern parts of Mozambique. Where's those drugs going to? So you see, in trying to take me out, all they did was, they broadened my scope, and I started collecting all the intelligence dots and saying, what the hell is going on here? Now we go back to the assassinations. I mean, Ivan Monsieur was assassinated, Johan and Masilela was assassinated. In 2009, I was also doing, when was this? Yeah, I was doing the investigation into the Bombay soccer stadium, Nelspruit, into the corruption over there. Jimmy Moshlala was the speaker in the municipality in Nelspruit, Bombay. I used to give him all the documents. He came to see me, and a week later he was dead because I said to him, Jimmy, your pistol is not supposed to be in the safe, it's supposed to be on you. So when he was shot the evening, he was standing at the gate and these guys approached him, and as he ran back to the house, they shot him in the back. It doesn't help to have a pistol in the safe.
I've read the story.
Yeah. George Zemanovich, of course, in his assassination, George was a very funny character, brilliant, uncouth, and intelligent pope, selling intelligence. He would give you something, but whenever he opened his mouth, you only had to go 180 degrees to the back, and you'd immediately find all the nonsense he's been talking about. Because George could never speak the truth. Doesn't mean he was a bad guy per se. Yeah. But then, the question was his assassination overdue? In all probability it was. Because George tried to frame too many people. And he tried to put his hands in too many things. And in any case, I mean, the situation was, this is about the 4 assassinations around me at this stage. But there's been so much betrayal. There's been so much people trying to play me. Ex-reckies, special reconnaissance, trying to tell me how they're looking after my interests, in the meanwhile reporting back to Defense Intelligence. It was incredible how many people were reporting back, because a lot of them would tell me they would be getting money, and it was all for survival. Majority of white people, not black. But
Hi guys. So I also want to say that most people won't ever know that Johan has had an amazing life before all of this. He was a colonel in the 101 Battalion during the Angola War. He went on from there to be recruited by the intelligence agency, and he went to work for President Mobutu, and he was in Zaire. He's met with President P.K. Botha right before he stepped down and handed South Africa over to de Klerk. I mean, he has had an amazing life. So I said all of that to just kind of give you a look into his past as a man, as a human. He is a very strong-minded and strong-opinioned man, as I am myself. We don't always agree on everything, but he has come to be my friend, and he is a good man, and he's had a lot brought upon him unfairly, yet he never feels sorry for himself. He just keeps fighting. He keeps fighting and keeps fighting and keeps fighting. I've never heard him complain. Yeah, as he said, that angry's not even the word for it. I wouldn't have a word for it either. This man has never been charged with a crime. He's had an astronomical amount of money stolen from him, his business destroyed, his life destroyed, and I would be homicidal. I would be not handling it as well as he is. So I just wanted to say that he is very strong-minded. I respect all of his opinions and his advice, even if we don't agree on every single issue. I have the respect that I respect him as a man and as a person. So I'm willing to listen to anything he has to say. And with that said, moving on.
But I'm still following up on issues of betrayal. I will know by the end of this week exactly where I'm standing, with whom and what. But the big thing is the legal system in South Africa. I blame them for what has happened. And of course, the Hawks said to me, when I asked them, now listen, when they gave me back my computers and my documents, they gave me back 7 little boxes, whilst they took away 30,000 documents. So I said to them, now, what about the years of my life and my family's life? You fucked up. It's not our problem, was the reply. Seriously? Seriously? And this goes back to the letter I received on the 10th of December 2018 from the National Prosecuting Authority, Advocate J.P. Pretorius, Tory Pretorius, saying that...
About that, I'm going to have that right here.
I mean, in the letter he says they decided in 2014 not to prosecute because there was no case. And then he waffles on about a lot of things, and he refers to a regulation which was promulgated in April 2012. I delivered on 31st October 2011. Regulations were not in place as yet because all it does was, until today, is to try and restrict private business in the arms trade. To whose benefit? Not to the military's benefit, not to South Africa's benefit, to certain people's benefit. Now the big thing is, why was I not informed in 2014? I was informed that Tory Pretorius kept the docket back because he wanted to review it. What makes him so special to review everything? Tory Pretorius is, in my view, part of the biggest criminal organization in this world.
So what he's speaking about, guys, is, as I said, he's never been prosecuted. I also have in my hand the original letter from the prosecutor. And as I said, I will post these at another time. I will post pictures at the end of the military equipment and a few things. So this is a letter from the prosecutor. It is dated November 2018. Okay, as you just heard him say, this prosecutor came to his conclusion in 2014. Why in the hell did it take him until December 2018 to get this to where it needed to go? To the police, to the special forces, to the CAPS is where this went, Conventional Arms Control Inspectorate. And it tells that he wasn't being charged with a crime because it couldn't be found that he committed a crime. Nothing constituted a finding that NGAM was legally entitled. It wasn't. That nothing. It could not be proved that NGAM had the necessary guilt knowledge of any wrongdoing in their permits or purchasing weapons. They tried to frame. They tried to frame them, the police and others. Just everything that you can think of to be done to people. It's crazy. And for this to wait that long, for this man to give his opinion or his instructions that he was not going to prosecute because there was no crime, yet everything that he owned was seized, money stolen, business liquidated, life ruined, partner murdered. I mean, it's just despicable that this is how the country is run.
Tory Pretorius, it came out, was big friends with a certain Philip Kramer from Air Force Intelligence, a piece of vile, second-hand, low-life intelligence operative, calls himself a weapon expert. And then Yami Smith, the guy we refer to as the jam stealer, who's an outboard engine mechanic from Special Forces 4 Rekkie at Langebaan, who became procurement officer. He had no tactical or strategic sense. And he was the bagman for stealing in the military. He was the bagman for the senior officials. And believe me, he's not an idiot. He's not an idiot, but he's really a person who's overstayed his welcome in this earth. Because for all the nonsense he said, all the affidavits he's made, and then I get blamed for it. By, for instance, the Defense Intelligence of the USA, because they're just too bloody lazy to read the documents. They are just too lazy. So the big thing is, the question is, why did they want to take us out of business? Because as in the first consult report on the export of 320 Ratos to Jordan, where Paramount Logistics in the end parked some $300 million according to our calculations in Cyprus. They bought these vehicles for 50,000 Rand and less, while a new vehicle was going for 4.2 million a second hand. A certain general, I can't remember his name, had covered it up. General from the military police, everything was covered up. No, not Mapianya. Litwaba. The General Litwaba from the military police. Because Thabo Mbeki's brother was involved. And when Thabo Mbeki's brother is involved, Thabo Mbeki is involved. That is the way that COSAs work. It's not one for himself, it's one for the family. The chapter about Thabo Mbeki has still not been written. And this is a very evil person. Whenever you start dissecting him, in the murder of Chris Hani, you will find Thabo Mbeki's hand. Anything that's happening in Thabo Mbeki, and you will find the hand of the Freemasons. I will send you some documents from 1993. The hand of the Freemasons being involved. Because also, I've seen an intelligence report which said that Jürgen Kugel comes from Namibia, German speaking. He was very close to Jacob Zuma. And he was very close to Jacob Zuma. And he's a big Freemason. He would recruit all these Afrikaner idiots in the military, give them promotion, give them money, and they would all join the Freemasons. Freemasonry after the Second World War is a big problem in the South African Defence Force as well as the South African Police Force until today. But the South African Freemasons are not the Freemasons you have in the rest of the world. They're a different type of life species, unfortunately. They are good guys, but the rest of them, I will still address this on a later stage and tell you what's been happening. Because, for instance, even until today, the role they are playing in government is astounding. And it's about one thing. It's about stealing. Yeah, money, money, money. And this is what's been happening. And interesting, Yami Smith and Von Alphen, Warrant Officer Von Alphen, his incompetent sidekick, all they did was, they all got this big Freemason ring on their fingers. So, tell me about, when you look at Paul Kruger, it is released that Paul Kruger had struck a deal with Cecil John Rhodes, as they were both Freemasons, about the Anglo-Boer War. Because Paul Kruger fled the country. He died in Switzerland. In 1899, his family had given himself loans of 500,000 British pounds, which were parked in British banks, which were never repaid from the old ZLI. Because the farmers never paid income tax. Only the foreigners, the Auslanders, and the mines paid taxes. And I understand that some of Paul Kruger's families until today living in Switzerland and they are being well cared for. How the circle gets completed. But in what you was all saying, let me just go back to one thing about the Delimedia. There's a lady, you can call her what you want, she wouldn't be wrong. Corrupt, vino, bitch, cow, whatever. Vanessa de Tour. I'll not finish it until we put the investigation into the first consultant board. She was very involved already as an investigator for the DCAC in what had been going on. But because I used it to sing like a canary, I asked them not to prosecute her at that stage. When all of these things happened, in 2014, they were still intercepting all my communications, as they are still until today. Yeah, of course, nothing is legal. I'll give you an idea what they do. They go to a judge and they get a court order against Radovan Krejcir, who is a master criminal without any honor. And down on the list of number 789, they will say, there's another person of interest we need to intercept, Johan and Erasmus. So they say, we have it in court. The judge, who, by the way, doesn't like to work because he's retired. He doesn't like to read and see what the hell is going on. Signs off on the document because they are officials. They've got a top secret clearance and they are supposed to know what they're doing. And then she writes this report and says she wants me arrested in December 2014. On what basis, nobody knows. I mean, I wrote to President Zuma. What is interesting, my emails and my letters have all been intercepted apparently. It never reached Zuma.
So, as Johan says, this is the letter from this woman, Vanessa Dutoy, whatever, lying on him. She had attached with this a letter that had been intercepted that was to the president. I actually have that as well. But in this, she puts evidence, a letter addressed to President Zuma. She says that he's trying to influence people to making the intelligence community and the Minister of Justice seem bad. She speaks about an article in the Liberty Voice, December 27, 2013, weapons of mass destruction missing. She says, I had a meeting with the NPA this morning, and we have gone through some of the transcribed, intercepted calls made by Mr. Erasmus. He was in contact with a member of the SAPS, known to us as, and I will not say a name. We have requested our investigators on this matter to transfer the weapon, the Gatling minigun, to a location known only to the two leading investigators. This is due to Mr. Erasmus making the place of safekeeping public, as well as due to his contact with the SAPS member. In the conversation between the two of them, Mr. Erasmus requested the member show him the weapon in order for him to make sure it's not missing. And they have arranged to meet and discuss how to go about Mr. Erasmus having access to the weapon. It's also interesting to note all public comments at the end of the article. I once again requested the NPA to move forward on the arrest as a matter of urgency. It seems the plans had shifted. Arrest for what? Let me ask you something. Had you purchased that weapon? Would you not want to know where it was? Would you not want to know that it was being kept, in a secure area, that no one that shouldn't would get a hold of it, that it wouldn't be sold off? That's insane. He holds a title and the ownership to that weapon. And what is there to arrest him for? Just ridiculous.
She resigns in 2015. And guess where she's working? At Paramount Logistics. The people that got self-enriched on the export of the rifles, Ivory Shikovic. And despite me sending it to the American DoD, Boeing of America signed an agreement with Ivory Shikovic from Paramount. So America has come and said, yeah, we're against fraud, we're against corruption. When you deal with us, you've got to sign all these documents, etc., as I had to sign with Dylan Error. But when it comes to the real money on the ground, they sign the agreements. You want to talk to me again about America? America's hands are just as dirty as these bastards on the side of the pond. But the main thing is, until today, this issue has not been clear. People say to me, you're angry. I laugh at them. I'm not angry. There's no word to describe what I am. There really is no word. Because the main thing is, it goes back to one thing. Somebody does not want this country to have a capacity. Somebody, and I'm trying to talk to find out from whom and to where, but the fingers are pointing to the Freemasons. The fingers are pointing towards the Freemasons, because remember, a minigun is not like a brain machine gun. You put it to your shoulder and you fire. You've got to do some prepping on that equipment.
So as I said earlier in the video, this mini Gatling gun could not be, even if they had the money for it, could not be bought directly from Dylan by the South African Defense Force. It had to be bought through a third party. I wanted to explain a little bit, just in case there are any Americans watching, or really anyone, why he spoke about America, and I will tell you why. And I hold the document in my hand. I will actually try to show you up close where maybe you can read what that says. Department of State. So this mini Gatling gun was ordered from the Department of State by NGAM and Johan, all with the proper paperwork, the proper permits, everything legit. Okay, this weapon was basically stolen from NGAM and Johan before it ever arrived in South Africa. This letter to the Department of Justice, this is from the Directorate, this is to the Directorate of Defense Trade Controls, Bureau of Political and Military Affairs, Department of State, Washington, D.C. And it is from the Department of Defense Forces in Pretoria, South Africa. And it says, the contract for South Africa Special Forces will respect to the demonstration of the Gatling gun armament system has reference. The South African National Defence Force of the Republic of South Africa wishes to conduct technical evaluation trials with this Gatling gun armament system and installation kits. It's kindly requested that your department accelerate and export approval for this program. So it goes on to just ask them to rush this, that they need it for this demonstration. Sorry, it's really late and I'm so tired. But this is why. This is why. So even the United States didn't do the right thing under these circumstances, because the It was paid for by this company. It was paid for, the title and the ownership are not to anyone but NGAM. And it's just really sad that so many people, so many entities were somehow involved in this. But I wanted to just explain that a little bit.
And I do have all those documents still in my possession. And this is why they actually raided me, because on 4 December 2012, they tried to destroy all my databases, and they destroyed the business in effect. And now these are God-fearing white South Africans. Which God are they referring to? Not the God of Abraham and Israel, for surely not. You think I'm angry? No, I'm not angry. I've still got to find a word that describes what I am. But the big thing is, they've been interfering in our lives. They've been talking nonsense. And as I have said, the only people who've come to our assistance have been black people, foreigners, and 3 or 4 Afrikaners. Because Afrikaners do not exist. I will keep on to the helping on that. And I will prove my point each and every time. Because in the first Convention report on poverty in the 1930s, which is an unpublished report, it is stated the Afrikaner is too lazy to work. He only wants to squat on rich Dutch farmers' farms. Even Verwoerd didn't trust him. He brought in Dutch people to take senior civil positions, whose children are today still in the system. So it's about South Africa. And the big thing is there's networks that's incredible. We've got so many things we've still got to delve on. So let's go look and see what we're going to talk about next week. Fine by you?
Yes, sir. That's actually exactly what I was thinking. And we will treat the charges next time.
I'll cover the treason charges in detail and show you how incompetent the legal system in South Africa really is. But you know what? I still have to use it if I want to get somewhere. But sometime, somewhere, something's got to give. To those good people, some good people have already died around me. Some good people, but the most criminals who've been directly involved, heart attacks, car accidents, and illnesses. We'll talk about this next time.
Have a great day, okay?
Good. You too. Enjoy yourself.
Bye.
Ciao. Bye-bye.